Hello, Malte. It's a pleasure to see you. Thank you very much for joining us today. So first, could you introduce yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for having me. My name is Malte Zamzow, and I have studied environmental engineering at the Technical University in Berlin. And throughout this study, I focused on water and soil-related topics. And now for almost 6 years, I'm working at the Water Research Institute, KWB. And yeah, I'm working there in the topics of surface waters, stormwater runoff, and chemical risk assessment.
Very nice. Thank you very much. And why would you say you are doing research?
Mainly, I think the motivation of doing research is somewhere between the curiosity of really understanding how things work. So this is like fundamental research, but it's also about the urgent need actually of adapting and preparing for a changing environment, I would say. So both is part of my motivation, and the part that I like the most about research is probably the interpretation and evaluation of data. So I think there is so much potential in data, so much different ways of combine them and raise questions and answer questions. I think there's, okay, of course, it's very important that this needs to be done in a plausible, objective way, and it needs to be reproducible, but it's also a chance of being creative, I think.
Very interesting. So you are from KWB. Could you present your organization?
Yeah, of course. The KWB is a small water research institute. It's non-profit, and it's working on very different aspects on the whole water cycle. So amongst others, this is the treatment of wastewater, the recovery of its resources, but it's also the groundwater, stormwater management, it's surface waters, up to drinking water treatments. So those are the topics, and as the KWB stands for Kompetenzzentrum Wasser Berlin. The last part, Berlin, indicates already that we have many projects going on in and around Berlin, but we are also involved in several German or European-wide projects.
I see. And you are also part of the AD4GD project. Could you explain what it is about?
To me, the AD4GD project is about shaping a data space, but which is very, very closely tailored to the needs and the requirements of data consumers and suppliers. So I think what is very special about AD4GD actually is that it is developing along 3 pilot cases which target very different environmental issues. So for us in Berlin specifically, AD4GD, because we are responsible for one of those pilots, in the first step, it is about finding what we actually need from this data space. So, and then the data space can build upon those needs of the water research related questions. And then in the second step, it would be about showing how the data space can support actual decision making in Berlin.
Very nice. And as part of KWB, what will be your role in this project?
Yeah, as I said, we will be responsible for one of the 3 pilots. And the Berlin pilot refers to the zero pollution strategy, which is one part of the Green Deal goals. And in Berlin, we focus on small urban lakes that are not subject to the European Water Framework Directive and to its monitoring procedures. That is why there is often a lack of knowledge about those lakes. But on the other side, they are quite important for biodiversity reasons. They can avoid heat islands in the city, and they are also very important as recreational area for the citizens. So basically, they just improve the quality of life in the city. And this is why we want to get more information about these lakes in order to be able to take measures regarding the water quality or the water availability. So our function will, or what we have promised for AD4GD, we want to develop indices in which we use already available data to estimate water quality, water availability of those small lakes, and to support the decision making.
Very nice. And why would you say the project 84GD is fundamentally important, and what can it change in the long run?
Yeah, for us in Berlin, it's fundamentally important to use data to estimate the water quality, because there are just too many of those small lakes. There are hundreds of small lakes. You cannot monitor them all manually. So you cannot close this gap of knowledge by sampling all the lakes. So we somehow need to really use all the data that is available and combine it in a way that we can extrapolate our knowledge on those huge amount of small lakes. And this is one thing. I think we need a strong data space where the data is reliable, where it's easy to access, where we can combine it, and where the results are reproducible. And this is, yeah, especially important for our Berlin case study, but it's also in general for us as a data user important, because we are often developing solutions. We are an applied research institute, so what we do is developing solutions, but they are often very local specific solutions. And it would be very nice if we could just transfer them to other locations. But for this, of course, we also need a powerful data space that allows that.
And who will benefit of 84GD? Could you go in more details about it?
In the best case in Berlin, this would be the small lakes, of course, because we are developing those indicators that would warn us if the water quality is decreasing or if the water availability is decreasing. And now, as a result, we could act much faster and take countermeasures. So hopefully those indices that we develop can act as some kind of early warning system for the Berlin small lakes.
Thank you very much. And I have one last question for you. What is your dream for the future?
Yeah, that's a very hard question. And I think there are a lot of possible answers. Now, if you are looking probably for a more nerd answer, I would say it would be great to have some kind of search engine that is easy to use, where you can just search for data sets. So for example, yeah, maybe a little bit like Google, so everyone can use it, and I could just enter, okay, I want Berlin, I want the year 2020, and I want to know what water quality data is available. Then I would get a list of parameters, and I could just choose, okay, give me the oxygen of the water, and it would list probably many locations where oxygen is measured. I could just pick one. Then I could say, okay, now I would like to compare it to other data that is available at this exact position. For example, this could be very different type of data, like satellite images. And maybe I find some interesting relation, maybe not, who knows, but if I want to check if this relation also appears at different locations, I could just see if I can find the same combination in Paris and so on. So it would be great if it was a very simple way of using, sharing, searching, and combining all those different data types.
Thank you very much. It's the end of the interview, and also thank you very much for taking the time today to join us.
Yeah, thank you.